Last time we were talking about this conscious doll, and the doll was very puzzling doll. So maybe we can have another look at it before we proceed further, and then see what this doll is, who this doll is, what he is supposed to do, and what not. You see. So a thinking puppet is the mind of life. So that is the way in which the new theme is opening out about the mind of life. Now, this mind of life is actually a sub-mental mind. It is not mentally proper. It is the mind coming from life itself. The mind of life itself is opening out, you see, in that sense. And this mind of life, Shivantu speaks of it in Life Divine also. In Man and Evolution there's a big chapter in the second half of Life Divine, and he speaks of this mind of life force, mind force, and all that. Actually, I mean, many of these things one can understand by referring back to Life Divine also. But Savitri itself explains everything anyway, you see. A thinking puppet. So, mind, after all, it is at the mercy of somebody. It is an object which is being operated by some other force, the life force. Who is the director? Who is the puppet in charge? Who is governing the thing? It is a life force. It is life force who is organizing a puppet show, and in that puppet show, this mind of life is what is being described. Its choice is the work of elemental energies. Its choice of this mind of life. What does it do? It works where? Of elemental energies, the primal, basic energies of life. In fact, as I said, elemental in the sense of bhutas, the elements which constitute the whole thing, you see. Its choice is the work of elemental strength. So you see, here, the mind of life has made a definite choice that it will derive the strength from elemental forces. That know not their own birth and end and cause. The elemental strengths. The elemental strengths do not know. The elemental strengths do not know their own birth and end and cause. Wherefrom they have sprung up, they have no idea of their own. And glimpse not the immense intent they serve. In other words, these elemental strengths have a kind of a purpose in the scheme of things. They are serving a certain purpose. Glimpse not the immense intent they serve. In other words, this life director has a certain purpose, and of that purpose, these elemental strengths have no idea what it is for. Now, what is the purpose of this life force? The entire thrust of this life force is actually to shake up matter, to bring vibrancy, to bring dynamism, to bring movement to what is inert and dull and non-moving, immobile, to bring that. That is the entire purpose of the whole thing, of this life force. And somehow, all these things, even these crudities, even these uglinesses, these hostilities also have a kind of a role to play, that the matter base is completely shaken up and stirred up and made kind of ready in a way, you see. So there is a certain fulfillment of the work also in this neither life of man. Neither life of man means basically submental life. Neither life of man, submental life of man. Drab-hued and dull. Well, that is of course there. Yet filled with poignant, small, ignoble things. You see, they're quite active. The conscious doll is pushed 100 ways. Now, who is this conscious doll? That is what we are talking about. Now, I will say this conscious doll is none but this mind of life. This conscious doll is none. He is the puppet. He is conscious because he is a thinking puppet. He is conscious because he is a thinking puppet. You see, he is not just a dull, stupid puppet. You see, and entirely. He is a thinking puppet. Yeah. In this neither life of man, rapute and dull, yet filled with poignant, small, ignoble thing, the conscious doll is pushed 100 ways and feels the push, but not the hands that drive. This puppet, this mind of life, knows that something is moving it, but who is moving it? That it has no idea of that, you see. In words, this puppet, this mind of life, is actually governed by the life force, and of that life force, it has no inkling, no idea, no clue who is driving, but he is constantly obeying it and carrying on the work of this life force, you see, and feel the push, but not the hand that drive. The hand that drive, whose hand? That life force. I will put that way. So that is how perhaps we can. Now the only point here now is still one more point which is there is conscious doll, okay, is thinking puppet. Conscious and thinking go together. Puppet and doll, in a way, they go together. But this doll is D capital. Still, the doll is D capital. I will say that he is kind of emphasizing the aspect of mind of life as a person. As a person, you see. And therefore, D is capitalized. Mind of life is some individual. And in order to give an expression to that individuality, he is making it prominent by calling it doll. You see. Well, I think that is the way perhaps we can. Does it satisfy? It makes this sort of sense?
That's what I sang. That's what I told you last
Yeah,
time.
okay, yeah. So there you are. Okay, now with that we can move on to our ephemeral creatures of daily life. This is the ephemeral creatures of daily life. So mind of life and the work which goes on with that, and the way in which the whole operation goes on is the ephemeral creatures of daily life. We are governed by these elemental strengths and agents who govern that thing. As long as human animal is Lord, and a dense nether nature screens the soul, as long as intellect's outward gazing sight serves earthly interest and future joys, and incurable littleness pursues his days. He is that ephemeral creature. Ever since consciousness was born on earth, incurable littleness pursues his days. Human animal is Lord. As long as human animal is Lord, and incurable littleness pursues these ephemeral creatures' days. In other words, the vital mind, the human mind, the submental mind, as long as it is present there, these conflicts, these difficulties, these skirmishes, they will be always there. Ever since consciousness was born on earth, life is the same in insect, ape, and man. Because human animal is the Lord. This submental life is still there. See, life is the same in insect. Ever since consciousness was born on earth. When was consciousness born on earth? When was consciousness born on earth? Well, of course, you had the void where there is no consciousness at all. Then a great movement has taken place. There is inconscience. In conscience, still there is no consciousness. There is matter, but still consciousness is not born in matter. Consciousness starts appearing in matter when life enters into matter. So the consciousness was born on earth when life entered into matter. Life entered into matter. And he says, This is something which is specific to earth. It does not happen everywhere. Matter is there everywhere, elsewhere. The whole universe is there. But it is only on earth when life has entered into matter that a new vibrancy, new movement, new stir has started appearing. That is the consciousness of God. But since then, the ephemeral creatures, life continues to be as it is. In other words, although the consciousness is born, life has stirred up matter and all that thing. The movement, the consciousness, the power, the force of life is not really sufficient to change life of insect and ape and man. It continues to be the same thing. Now, in other words, some higher power than life must enter into picture if we have to change on things. Well, we had done this thing last night. We can move further up quickly now and then come to the punctilios. That is what we started on last night. In a false perspective of effects and cause, trusting to a specious prospect of world space, it drifts incessantly from scene to scene, whither it knows not, to what fabulous world. All here is dreamed or doubtfully exists. But who the dreamer is and whence he looks is still unknown or only a shadowy gift. Or the world is real, but ourselves too small. Because our mind is still small, therefore see, for the mind, that is the dilemma. The world is real, but ourselves too small. In fact, that is the reality. World is of course real. It is not an hallucination. It is not a dream. It is not fantasy. There is some real content in the world, but our smallness of mind, understanding, cognizance, awareness is not able to grasp the contents of this world, what it is there for, insufficient for the mightiness of our speed. A thin life curve crosses the Titan world or the orbit of a soulless universe, and in the belly of this vast rolling a mind looks out from a small casual globe and wonders what itself and all things are. So out of all this ephemerality and all that thing, mind is simply kind of peeping out slowly, you see, that's what he says here. And yet to some interned subjective sight, that strangely has found matters might sightless stuff. In turn, subjective sight that strangely has found in matters sightless stuff, a pointiest minute of little self. Pointiest minute of little self. Now, some in turn subjective sight which has really gone within and formed this kind of a thing, in subjective sight, inward, you see, that strangely has found matters sightless stuff. Take figure as world beings conscious base. That point is taking a conscious base of that. Dots are formed and suddenly starts kind of glowing, you see. Such is our scene in the half light below. Half light because ours is a mental light of mind. Ours is only a life of mind of light. Light. What we have is only the light which comes from mind. Therefore, it is half light. Mind is an instrument of ignorance. It is working also in ignorance. Therefore, it is half light. Half because a great awareness has definitely come from the non-existence of light in matter or in consciousness. To some extent, something here and there flashing in life. But with the arrival of man, with the arrival of mind, some kind of an illumination, ignorance has become less. Ignorance has not gone away, but has become less. Such is our scene in the half light below.